Hello everyone, and welcome to Match 2 of the SANDJOVER v Collapse the Electron tournament game here for first place in the overall tournament. We saw in the previous one Collapse the Electron take it with a pretty dominant performance with the S2 cell supported by 450 liners. We will see what SANDJOVER does here. They lost, so they get to pick the map. We are heading to Honeycomb now, as the teams have swapped sides. Team 1, ANS, we have Collapse the Electron, Surazal, Pazuzu, Ambient Lamp, and Trojan Shadow. Team 2 is SANDJOVER here on OSP. We have Hellcringe, who is Hunter, Heaven Based, who is Herman, Quiz, and Snipes. SANDJOVER with a pretty expected choice here of map. Honeycomb is decently favored by the Protectorate faction. They get choice of map, and they are on OSP. It gives them probably the balance advantage here. We'll see if ANS is able to do anything about that, but taking a look at the fleet comps here, yep, as I expected, I am seeing a monitor ball being brought by, it looks like that Snipes is... No, it's like a half monitor ball. It's a half monitor ball plus a cello, it looks like. I'm seeing a lot of cappers low. Probably maybe some ruddles are going to be attempted low under the map. We will see what that ends up being. I'm seeing some liners up high. It looks like those are being brought in by Hunter. A couple of cellos, other than the one with the monitors, spread around. A couple of monitors there, too. Looks like it's going to be a triple monitor half cap from Quiz. On ANS, this is Collapse the Electron, I'm seeing double BB deployed, sort of decently spread out. One closer to D, one closer to E, but decently in the middle. A squadron, squadron of 3 Corvettes going low from ANS. That is a backline Moorline Hunter. No Moorline on OSP, though, means that these are not going to be really able to find the target they intended, although that is still going to be a devastating missile push under the map. We will see how ANS is able to use that. Seeing some beam destroyers around the map for support. I'm also seeing this destroyer next to the battleships, likely going to be a rail, and another rail probably on the side here. Pretty remarkably similar team comp to what SANDJOVER brought on ANS last time in terms of capitals, minus the Greedfords by the looks of it. Interesting here. I'm only accounting for really 3 fleets here, unless... on Collapse the Electron, yeah, because we got the 2 battleships, the Cap fleet, unless this is part of, probably we got 2 players, oh, nope, there we go, there's a levy, probably, that's, oh wait, no, that's Inches of Leeway, Seas, Dagger, Spare, Atlas, this is Trojan's Carrier Half-Cap fleet, which means that CTE-11, the Sprinter bombers there, is likely a different player bringing that. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to, like, calculate what ANS's team comp here is. Anyway, 5 seconds left on deployment here. It looks like everyone is deployed, making us wait the full 1-minute countdown as let us begin this. Let's see what everyone has brought. We get a... Yep, this is part of Quiz's Cap fleet, the triple monitor in the Cap fleet. Pretty decent tech here. Gives you at least a little bit of a tool against Sprinter balls, while also having a bit of meat to go along with the Cap fleet. All right, let's start with Collapse the Electron here, starting up first with Ambient Lamp. We have a battleship here. Looks like no backpack slot, VLS-2 on the side there. Parallax, pretty standard, being supported by a Beamstone. Beamstone on Dagger here, and a Guncapper. All right, pretty nice spread BB fleet there. Supporting them is Pazuzu in the other battleship here. Is this a Beamstone as well? Looks like this is going to be pretty much... Is this the same fleet? No, slightly different, but same idea. Battleship, Beamstone, and I'm assuming a Cringe Capper instead of a Gun Capper. All right, so a bit more of extra points probably going into the Beamstone and the BB on Pazuzu's fleet. All right. Surazal. Surazal's the one who's running the under-the-map Sprinter bombers here. These are going to be hunting for any backline assets that OSP has brought. Supporting these is... These are Beamstones up top. Oh, I thought these were rails. Interesting. Not sure we're probably going to put themselves in pretty aggressive positions on the rocks by sea. Interesting. I just assumed that those were rails just due to where they were spawning in. All right. And then lastly, Trojan on the Cap fleet here. Trojan is running their signature Carrier Half-Cap fleet. Very, very deadly. 1 levy dedicated towards anti-light and dealing with goalie assets with 4 gun cappers and a Cringe Capper. All right, initial rollouts here. No one's really stepped onto their naturals yet, which gives me time to go over what OSP has brought. SANDJOVER is bringing, Herman is bringing the monitor ball. as we kind of expected OSP to bring on this map. Monitor Ball is very strong on Honeycomb. Being supported by Hunter is running the triple... Looks like this is a triple 250 liner fleet with some plasma support. Allows them to get through some armor there while maintaining a lot of damage output at close range. We got some gun cappers too. How the fuck did Hunter fit all this in the same fleet? How expensive? Ah, yep, that would do it. 2 restores on each liner. These things are going to be very fragile. Anyway, Quiz is running the Monitor half-cap fleet here. We got 3 monitors in a little cluster here. Very, very nice support meet for a cap fleet here. Rounding out the cap fleet, I'm seeing... Oh, Ruddles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Ruddles. Looks like Quiz is eager to get revenge for what happened to them in the last match. Wrapping things up for SANDJOVER here, we have Snipes and the double SLO supporting the Monitor Ball. Very nice pick for supporting some frontline ships here. These look like pretty standard SLOs. I'm seeing Auroras. We have Para, and I'm assuming probably Para on both. All right. Interruption Jammer only on one, so these are meant to be flown as a group. Ruddle Deny attempted onto C here as Quiz is going to strike Dagger here, although Trojan's going to follow up with the Torpedo Strike here. Dagger, it looks like it's probably going to be denied for both teams here as these torpedoes are going to kill this Ruddle quite quickly there. Dagger is denied from both teams. On the side here, Trojan gets spotted out by another Ruddle as Quiz rushes them down again. No bombers in the area to support this thing, as this thing is going to be on its own against the Ruddle rush. Down low, Surazal sends some hybrids into the Ruddles that are going low. Manages to target lock one, find it out. 1 missile, 1 kill as it snipes the CIC basic. Another one also dead as Quiz has immediately lost 2 of its Ruddles for no real gain there, unfortunately for them. Both naturals go to their respective teams. It looks like ANS gets theirs slightly quickly. Quiz is flanking low in another Ruddle here. It does get spotted out, which means that ANS knows where it is. Ruddle strike on sees Atlas here. Does have its defender in arc, so it's able to... Actually mops up that rocket strike a lot better than I thought it would. Usually double rocket Ruddles are able to get through that quite well. Whistler Squadron just jumps in here to try and distract the Ruddle, I think. Ruddle has another missile salvo programmed, although it is not facing in the correct direction for both of its banks to be firing at the same time, as the gun capper here might knock out the CIC with the RPF before it's able to fire. We will see. Defender not... Still relatively in arc here. The guns are not. There goes the rocket strike. The Defender freaking out, not firing properly. Uh-oh. Bombers are going to find it, though, as sees Atlas just barely survives that there. Backfire finds the one under the map there. That is another Ruddle down. Trojan doing an excellent job of just mopping up the Ruddles with the bombers from the carrier just immediately as they get detected. Dagger gets stepped onto by ANS here. Trojan had a spare capper in position to take the point. Monitors are not really in position to deny that. They are not facing the right way. They are facing down low. Quiz is now under fire from the battleships here as the battleships do acquire and start getting some rounds in. Beamstone into Quiz's Ruddle there just to confirm the kill. As ANS takes cap advantage. They take E with no contesting, D after some contesting there. They do make an attempt on C, but unfortunately they do lose the capper, and A is firmly in their hands. Quiz's Ruddle rush fails pretty spectacularly there, as they are severely bled of their Ruddles really early on. That is not a situation you want to be in as OSP. Monitor Balls now pushing around the rock here. Should be worth noting, like I mentioned before, it was Surazal's Beamstones were trying to get themselves into some aggressive positions here. One of them does get hit. Aurora? What the? Aurora? Okay, Aurora's on the Beamstones is not what I was expecting, but sure, I suppose against rocket boxes and Ruddles, that's probably a decent tactic. The battleship is within plasma range. That's not what you. That's not where you want to be. This massive frontline push around the rock here is going to catch ANS's battleships off guard here. Pazuzu's still busy with the bombers trying to mop up the cappers, which means that they do not really have strikes up to deal with any of the massive frontline ships here. Surazal pushing low in the missile ships, not really detecting anything in the backline. By now, it should be clear to ANS that OSP does not have any backline ships. They're flanking up, likely to try and get some hits into the front line, support their battleships as much as possible. Battleships are focusing fire on Hunter's 250 liners here. These things are chargers. They are meant to basically rush into the enemy front line and catch them out of position while doing as much damage as possible. They do not have much health at all. Beam does go into one of them here, as it looks like Pazuzu is able to push up one of their beam stones into position to get some nice flanking damage against this thing. That is a long-range beam. Range bracket looks like just on the edge of the beam's range, so it's not really going to be doing a whole lot. Does manage to get the structure break, though, which is pretty big. This liner is going to go down pretty quickly now due to the beam. It should be worth noting that Electron here, the Beamstone, is not really in a position where it can get BB... But Snipes, with the Acello, pushes into Beamstone range as Surazal gets a nice flank into the Acello. Snipes immediately pivots fire into the Beamstone here, but not before this Acello takes some pretty decent damage here. Bulk Mag is severely degraded. Surazal pulling back their Beamstone, wanting to keep it alive. They do lose their other Beamstone on the flank here as Hunter is able to find it. Not before it does some pretty significant damage. One of the guns down and one of the drives out. Boxer now being capped by ANS as Surazal does manage to put their S2 ships onto the point. Meanwhile, Cascade Squadron from Trojan gets a devastating strike against one of Hunter's liners here. That is two of Hunter's liners pretty much out of the fight, as the Beamstone is going to have no problem mopping this thing up with support from the battleships here. Hunter severely bred on these liners. The limited amount of resource and DC teams in these things is really showing here. One of them might be able to get some stuff back online, but the other one is going to be caught out in the open here and just going to get torn apart. Beam's now going into the monitors now. The monitors are forced to push into beam hell as ANS gets a very, very early cap advantage. You can see it down low. Surazal sending an S2 strike against, looks like Quiz's monitors here. Without the Acello in range, these monitors are going to have basically nothing to stop those from hitting. Those are HEKP as well. They did hit at an off angle, but that's still enough to deal some significant damage there. And as with the 4 cap now, their battleships have been pushed back pretty heavily due to their frontline rush here, although OSP is starting to bleed pretty heavily for that. Surazal's Beamstone is still active. It is detected. It looks like one of Snipes' Acellos is trying to push high to try and get an angle on it right now, although Surazal might accidentally push out here into range. Nope, never mind. The thrusters are firing. Looks like they're going to go back behind the rock. S2s are just going to start trying to clean up Quiz here. One of their monitors is now burning towards Boxer to try and deal with the sprinters here. Another one of them is going to get struck by those HEKP S2Hs. Once again, a little bit of an off angle for the S2Hs, although that is still enough to do significant damage. Surazal gets a beam onto Snipes' Acello here. This was the healthy one that hasn't been beamed yet. You can immediately see all of OSP immediately pivots fire to try and deal with it, although Surazal using that radar drive... Is this Surazal or Pazuzu? Never mind, that's Pazuzu. Surazal's Beamstone is over here. Although, speaking of Surazal's Beamstone, takes full advantage of the distraction obtained by Pazuzu's Beamstone to just step out here and is likely going to try and get a beam on one of these monitors or the Acello. You can see the Acellos are starting to take some pretty degrading damage right now as they are forced to just continuously push up into these Beamstones here. The carrier is spotted. Trojan is detected right now as they accidentally move into detectability range here. We will see if the front line for OSP starts to get fire on it. Yeah, you can see Herman is already pivoting the front line, or the monitor casemates to try and get hits on it. Surazal's going to push out here, get instantly target locked by one of the Acellos. Beam is bearing to target. It's not firing. The Acellos might be able to degrade this Beamstone enough before it fires. Beam is really low health right now. Might get a little bit of damage. Nope, there goes the beam. OSP does manage to disable one of the Beamstones, although there is still a couple more. Once again, Pazuzu pivots out one of their Beamstones here. Immediately gets it into one of the monitors here. This one has already taken significant damage as that thing is pretty much mission killed. Boxer being retaken by Quiz here. Quiz does manage to force the sprinters off the point here, although they have taken critical damage for it. Hunter pivoting likely towards E point here to try and get some caps here. Missiles at point-blank range out on Snipes' monitor there. Are they going to get the kill? No, they do not get the kill, but they severely cripple this thing. It is going to take Boxer, but it's not going to really be able to do much after that. Looks like Trojan is sending C's Atlas to contest Boxer. More missiles going out into the gun capper here just to support their capper. There goes the CIC and the gun. Battleships still sort of out of position here, although they are doing a decently good job of flanking back around to the Monitor Ball side here. The Monitor Ball, once again in the tournament, we saw another Monitor Ball inted here, although it does do some crippling damage to Trojan here. Trojan has lost their reactor and one of their hangars. Only Tonto's in that hangar, so it's not the largest loss, but one of their large pads is gone. A Ruddle strike at long range attempted on the carrier. The bombers, looks like they do finish off the Ruddle. At long range, though, this ship is relatively large, although it just manages to barely dodge the rockets, as Trojan, by the skin of their teeth, keeps their levy alive for a bit longer, dodging that rocket strike just barely as the rockets slide underneath the carrier. The carrier is relatively alive for now. Surazal, with nothing to hunt in the back line, has now pivoted on to dealing with the front line here. S2H is now out on the Monitor Ball. These are CMD Wake going into the rear aspect of these monitors. That is another one of Herman's monitors, severely damaged here. They are down to 2 healthy ones. A beam goes out just to finish off one of their already damaged ones. Oh, only down to 1 monitor that's still really in the fight right now, as Vigil is the only one left, although I'm assuming we will see some strikes on that one in a moment here. The battleships now, with only some degraded monitors and the 2 damaged Ocellos to deal with, are now feeling a lot more confident in this frontline fight here. ANS's supporting assets doing an excellent job of keeping the battleships in the fight, degrading the monitors and Ocellos enough for the battleships to continuously take this fight here. Hunter, still trying to flank it towards Eclipse right now, is going to step onto the point with nothing to really stop them from taking the objective here. Surazal has been pushed back. The S2 bombers, though, have done significant damage to both the supporting ships and the front line at this point.
The enemy is securing zone Eclipse.
Quiz is nearly completely bled of assets. They do have 1 Ruddle left, which is flanking high, although it is on track right now. ANS, with some pretty excellent sensor coverage around the map, is just able to spot out these Ruddles really early on, and Trojan, just with excellent strike capabilities, is just able to mop them up. Pazuzu now dealing with the front line in conjunction with Ambient Lamp. Looks like they are focusing on Snipes' Ocello here, trying to degrade it as much as possible by the looks of it. Maybe trying to degrade it enough so that bomber strikes can get through to further support their engagement. Although at this point in the game, the monitors are in a really, really rough spot. S2 bombers are effectively expended on missiles. They only have a couple of strikes left, although they, like I said before, they did their job quite well.
The enemy secured zone Eclipse.
E is captured by Hunter here as their last remaining liner is able to step onto the point, take the objective. Ambient Lamp is just withdrawing from the point, recognizing that they can't win against that liner with a gun capper here. Trojan is sending C's Boxer to, quite fittingly enough, Boxer. The only thing guarding B right now is a severely damaged monitor. This is the only thing that has combat capabilities left near the B point, although it is rapidly heading towards Dagger instead, which is going to leave B open for an ANS take. One of the battleships activates the comms jammer for absolutely no reason. That's Amora right there. Pazuzu, once again, getting a beam onto target, finishing up one of these monitors. That is going to be the K-kill into the quite fittingly named Idiot, as Snipes immediately pivots 450 from the Ocello onto target. That looked like AP being fired. Yep. Snipes just firing whatever they have in the magazine at the beamstone, trying to get any damage at all. The beam does, man, it's kind of like burned itself out at this point, so it's not really going to be able to do a ton of damage anymore to the Ocellos, although at this point in the game, it's already done enough. The battleships are relatively intact here. They are just going to start splitting up here, getting the crossfires on the Ocellos and finishing off the Monitor Ball. OSP severely gutted of most of their ships. Although they do hold cap advantage right now, it is a very tenuous hold. Trojan is flanking Broadsword over to Boxer just to confirm the kill on that monitor. It's going to allow ANS to take the point with C's Boxer, which has stopped and is waiting likely for the bomber strike here. Yep, Trojan doing an excellent job of microing both the Broadsword now striking. These are cluster bombs. These are going to get the confirmed kill on this capper here, on this monitor here, as those should have no problem staging. Yep, and that is a very, very dead monitor. Yep. Boxer is now very open for ANS right now. Yep, Siege Boxer has already ignited its thrusters and is already heading towards the point. A capper is detected on A, moving in. Ambient has already begun moving in their gun capper. It is already getting fire on this crippled capper here. Once again, the good sensor coverage from ANS doing a lot of work here is able to spot that early, and ANS is able to repivot assets to maintain their caps. What's left of OSP's frontline has mostly started to pivot back behind this rock here. They do have cap advantage. They are likely going to try and play for that. Quiz is already moving their last monitor back onto Boxer here just to try and contest it here. The S2 bombers, not... They do have some hybrids left in the tank, although it's likely not going to be... Might be enough to cripple this thing for the gun capper to take it. Although that being said, Trojan is already flanking Caltrop Squadron over towards this monitor here. Caltrop is torpedoes. Yep, so that should be enough to deny the B defend. Ambient has placed a beamstone quite well on Dagger here. You can see it is already aiming towards where that monitor was. ANS's sensor coverage. I keep saying this, I'm like a broken record, but ANS is just able to know that that monitor is coming. Ambient Lamp did position their beamstone in position to stop that from happening. Although the monitor has now moved back to Boxer to try and deny that. Siege Boxer is spotted. It actually gets caught out by Hunter here as their 250 liner pivots back towards B to support the cap hold. Probably the correct play from them, as they are likely going to be able to mop up Siege Boxer here, prevent it from taking the point. Caltrop, though, is still going to get the strike out on this monitor here. There goes Torpedoes, as that is probably going to be the last of Quiz's ships severely degraded. Torpedoes are going to be unable to kill this monitor, but they are going to be able to degrade it to the point where it's not going to be able to do much anymore. Yep, there goes the structure break. Everything in the core red. The C-90 actually does survive decently well there. Battleships getting an excellent crossfire on Snipes here. Snipes is forced to choose which of the battleships to bow tank, as they're going to get some pretty devastating gut hits here at a really off angle. You can see the top of this thing is already gone. Guns down, Cinder Stack down. You can see that is the angle that Pazuzu's battleship is firing at, is able to just get the nice shots in there. Pazuzu is now pushing their beamstone forward, likely trying to support the front line here as best as they can. Get the kills confirmed on the rest of OSP's front line, allowing the BBs to just park themselves on points here. Which it looks like that's what Pazuzu's doing. Pazuzu's already flanking towards C with their battleship, likely just going to step onto the point and hold it. There's not really a whole lot that OSP has left that can dislodge a battleship. Similarly, Ambient Lamp just holding this cross angle here, getting some excellent shots into the what's left of OSP's front line, as the Unk stack is not really doing too good here. Oh. Yes, two bombers do actually pivot towards E here, sending their last hybrid strike into Hunter's liner. It is target locked and jammed. These will... 2 of them rock PD, 4 of them staged properly. Unfortunate timing on the rock being there, but that's HEKP into the nose of this thing. That's going to deal some significant damage, although not enough to really stop this from... Oh, more missiles. I was wrong. They had more than I thought they did. That's more HEKP into this liner. Very, very red and very, very injured liner, although these missiles will not be able to kill it. Pazuzu starting to take some plasma fire from the last remaining monitors here, although at this point it doesn't matter. The frontline fleet is already very, very degraded and doesn't really have the firepower they need to take advantage of any armor stripping here. More hybrids out. I was wrong about these Sprinter bombers. They still have more in their tanks. As more HEKP S2s strike this liner here. Not really the angles you want to see from HEKP S2s, but still enough to kind of severely damage this thing. That is no restores. They sniped the complex. No restores left in this liner here. That's an unfortunate snipe on this liner, as the only restores are gone. Foxhound Squadron with more torpedoes. Bullfrog with cluster bombs are flanking directly towards Quiz's ship on Boxer. In conjunction with one of the Trojan's last cappers here is already placing itself in position on Boxer to just take the point here. The 250 liner is too busy dealing with the Sprinter bombers, and the front line is just going to get gutted by ANS's front line here. Boxer should be relatively open here. This is like the third attempt that ANS had to take Boxer, although they are in a much better position to do it this time. Yep, torpedoes hit. This thing is structure broken. Bullfrog with the cluster bombs is going to have no problem finishing up there. Pazuzu a bit hesitant to step onto C here, seeing the incoming plasma fire, perhaps thinking twice, maybe thinking that OSP's front line is a bit more intact than it was, although they are still drifting towards the point. One of the Acellos is mission killed, the other one doing its best to hold the line, but it is very much out of the fight here. The monitors, only one of them really with the ability to fight. Two of them still have, one of them still has some combat capability, although it is very, very limited. You can see Herman is just rushing the monitors, probably trying to rush them onto C to try and contest as long as possible here. Cluster bombs successfully staged on the monitor on the monitors at Boxer, as the cluster bombs staged slightly incorrectly there. One of them going into the already dead ship, although the one into the healthy one is able to get the kill there. You can see C's dagger is already flanking towards the point. Eclipse gets stepped onto by the S2 bombers here as the 250 liner is crippled and unable to really deny that. It is out of position to do so, as ANS is going to retake the cap advantage here. Every single point is probably going to be taken by ANS within the next few minutes here. There is nothing left in SANDJOVER's tank to really deny that, as another excellent performance from Collapse the Electron here. Just absolutely guts the opposing team of all of their ships, allowing them to just step onto objectives. Boxer now being capped. Charlie's likely going to go next in a bit here. Beam now out into the already damaged Acello. Unfortunately, a little bit of a miss target priority from Pazuzu's beamstone there, although any damage is still damage. It's also not like it really matters. OSP is already very much out of the fight at this stage. The monitors are completely gone at this point. All that's really left is Hunter. What's left of Hunter's 250 liner and the Acellos. As yep, there goes the GG. As SANDJOVER is calling this. Collapse the Electron is gonna take first place in the NEBVEMBER tournament with an excellent performance in the last round here against SANDJOVER. Excellent strategies being brought by them in both games here. Just excellent, I keep saying this, but yeah, excellent performance from Collapse the Electron. Definitely the standout team in the tournament here, as, yeah. C is gonna get stepped onto by Pazuzu here, any moment, and that's gonna confirm the victory for, Collapse the Electron. It's like Snipes and Herman are just gonna fight this one out. Snipes is a Acello, I believe, is the only thing keeping them in the fight right now. Or keeping the OSP team in the fight right now. I believe that everything else is combat incapable permanently, right? You're theoretically still restorable. Nope, there's this render. All right. First place in the tournament is going to go to Collapse the Electron. SANDJOVER is going to take second place. Battleship's doing an excellent job there. Beamstone's also doing absurdly well. Excellent flanking damage. 40k from a less than 2k levy is also very, very excellent. Yeah. Finding characteristics of that game, I think the big thing is the ability for ANS to just deal with the Ruddle Rush. Unlike ANS last game that didn't have the ships to deal with the Ruddle Rush, ANS this game did. They had the sensors, they had the ships, and were able to continuously pivot both their bombers, their sprinters, and their beamstones to just deal with the Ruddle Rush, able to degrade it really early on. The loss of Quiz's cap fleet very early on kind of forced the front line to try and play aggressively for the cap retake, but ANS is very good at holding territory with those beamstones, and the Acellos plus monitors are just forced to push into a very disadvantageous fight there. The battleships are able to hold with support from the beamstones and carrier, as ANS just does a good job of systematically mopping up the aggressive push from OSP there. Very, very excellent job from Collapse the Electron there with a very, very well-executed strategy.